my name is Gabby Molina. I graduated from Hesperia High in 2001. So that was quite a long time ago. Oh my God, yeah, in 2001. Yeah, 2001. And then, so I enjoyed high school. I just wish I was more involved. But I always was into sports and like sculpture and art and computers. Like that was my go-to, my safe haven.
That's great.
That's great. Yeah. So, what activities, clubs, or sports were you involved in during high school?
I wish I would have been involved in more, but I loved computers, like anything that had to do with computers. Back in 2001, we didn't have like graphic design or any programs like we do now. But we did have like clerical occupations. So any classes that had computers, I was in. I love sculpture. So I would go into sculpture. That was my third period. That was my third period class where I loved going there because I like working with my hands. So if I was able to mold clay, I would go on the wheel. It was just, I just love that. So that's what I enjoyed doing when I was in high school.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite memory here?
I do. My senior year, it was during the talent show, and they said, I bet you won't do it. I said, what? And when they said, I bet you won't, I bet you I will. So I joined the talent show, right? And as I thought, you know what, I'm gonna do it, right? And this is when Shakira just first came out, right? So she was coming out with like the new like belly dancing, but it wasn't like very like a lot of skin showing, nothing like that.
Yeah.
But I said, you know what, I'm gonna do that. Right? So I did that, right? And it was my senior year, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. That's like a core memory, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like fun.
That sounds like fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
Did you have like a favorite hangout spot in high school, on campus, or anything?
You know what? I would always hang out in the cafeteria. Like I would say the last table before you exit that door.
Okay.
Out there, yeah. Or I would go to sculpture class, and I would go there. Yeah, to the sculpture class.
I know you said you liked any class with like computers and sculpture and everything, but did you have any other favorite classes?
You know what? Those are the ones that stand out the most. Was the computer class and the sculpture class. Those are the ones that stood out because back in growing up, I didn't know like that graphic design or computers were going to be the future. I didn't know that, but it was always something that I was into. So that's where I was focused on. And even when I graduated high school, I thought graphic design or even like designing on the computer, I thought it was just for fun. But now, as times evolve, now you can make a great living doing that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So moving on to our college and professional life questions. Our first question is, can you tell us about your current job or career path?
Well, I started doing marketing for a medical group and it's called Heritage. I used to do their marketing group, and when I would see their designs, I would look at them. I'm like, I could do that. So I got involved into doing graphic design. I'm self-taught graphic designer, and so I was teaching myself. I was like, you know what? Maybe I should go to school to make sure I'm doing this right? Yeah. Make sure I'm doing the designing part correctly. So I decided to go to college to BBC. I went to BBC, and that's where I met Mr. Luke Chappelle, who was the former graphic design teacher there at Hesperia High. I met him, and we became good friends. And he told me that he was ready to retire because he was sick or he was ill. And I said okay. And I said again, I never say I don't say no. And he offered me. He said, hey, why don't you become a teacher here? I'm like, what? I said, I work with senior citizens. And I want to work with seniors in high school. I'll do it. I'll do it. So I taught graphic design, but I taught myself first, and then I went to school, and I said, you know what? And that's what Mr. Chappelle said to me, Gabby, there's no right or wrong way in doing design. There's thousands of ways to do it as long as you get your result. And I said, okay. So those words stuck to me, and that's what I do now. I taught at Hesperia High School. My former class, that was my computer class, I taught there for from 2013 to 2019. And then I decided to call it a day. And I thought my teaching days were over. I thought I was done teaching because I wanted to pursue my graphic design company. And I decided to do that. And then I moved to Vegas in the middle of COVID, which I live now, and I got pulled back into teaching. So I'm teaching again for high school here in Vegas.
Oh, that's great.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Like when you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. And I love designing. I love just being creative and be able to work with my hands. So not only do I design, but I also get those designs and put them onto like shirts, onto tangible items.
So
And that's a lot of fun.
you seem like you're very passionate about your career.
I am.
So what would like a day in your life look like for your work?
For my work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, well, because I only teach part-time. I teach I teach high school from like 7 to 10. So I teach I teach my students graphic design. I teach them from the very basic, like the very bottom, and I build them up. And then from there, I come home, I get off at 10. By 10 o'clock, I'm home. So then I check my orders, any order, because I do have, I run like spirit wear for different schools in the high desert. So I'd run their online store. So I check those orders, fulfill those orders, ship them out. And then I get custom orders where clients want, a custom shirt, family reunion, more spirit wear. It just depends. And then, but I'm always like just on my email, just checking, and also promoting in social media, because we live in a time where, you have the whole world pretty much in your fingertips, and you could work from anywhere. If you have like a skill like graphic design, you could work from anywhere. So I that's what I do. I love what I do.
That's
so
that's
cool.
great.
Yeah.
What has been one of the biggest lessons you've learned in this professional world?
I think what I've learned is just take chances. Like don't limit yourself. Don't limit yourself, and just love what you do. Like love what you do. If you have a passion, flip it around and get creative with it. So if you like to skateboard, okay, film yourself skateboarding and show how you do those tricks. So for me, I think it was more like I was told that, oh, you're not a graphic designer because you didn't go to school. So I thought, okay, I got to do that. Okay. So I don't ever want to cap myself and say, okay, I can't do that. I can't, or limit myself. Don't ever limit yourself. And that's what my best advice would be, is don't ever limit yourself and just go for it.
That's actually good advice.
That is good advice. Yeah. So what skills from high school do you actually use in your career and everyday life now?
I would say the sculpture, like just thinking, just a lot of critical thinking, a lot of creativity, using those skills. Also with, like I mentioned before, graphic design wasn't a subject when I was in high school. So I would design things like on Excel. Not Excel. I'm sorry. It's what was it? Like a PowerPoint. So I would design that, but which you can also design off of PowerPoint. You can also use it on Illustrator, like to design little things. So I think that kind of ties in together. So yeah.
So what's one obstacle you faced after high school, and how did you overcome it?
You know what? Not following what I really want to do, because my passion has, like I mentioned, I was passionate about computers, passionate about art, but in my mind, I thought you had to be a doctor, a nurse, a police officer, and I come from a big family. So when I saw my brother going to the police academy, I was like, well, he's doing it, so I have to do something. I was like, you know what? I want to go and be a doctor. So I took all the nursing classes, actually all the biology classes, the anatomy classes. I took all those classes, and I just wasn't happy. I said, I would always go back to computers and just stay on the computers. And until one day I was like, you know what? This isn't for me. And then that's when I got pulled into marketing, and medical was just not for me. Medical was not for me.
Yeah.
It was just not for me. That's why I got pulled into like doing marketing, because I used to do like the front office, like at a doctor's office. So I said, I'm going to work at a doctor's office, and if I like it, great. And that's what I did. And it wasn't for me. No. So yeah.
Looking back, what would you tell your high school self now?
I think I would tell myself just to do what you love. Do what you love, and don't, just stay focused and just plug in and lock into what you really love to do. Because I feel like I I went to the college and I did like my medical. I did like the classes I need to get to like the RN program and like, to do that stuff. But I just wasn't happy. But what makes me happy now is designing, being creative, printing T-shirts, printing banners, designing things where it makes a difference when you give it to a client or you give it to a friend as a gift. It's your creativity. So that's what I tell myself and my younger self is don't, stay focused and do what you love.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually really great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did your time at HHS shape who you are today?
As a student or as a teacher?
As a person
as a
overall.
person overall.
Person. Oh, okay. You know what? When I was a student at Hesperia High, like I felt like, especially with the teachers that I have, they were very passionate. And like I had Miss Braden, Miss Cindy Braden. I don't know if she still teaches, but she was my computer teacher, and she helped me with a lot, like being creative. Because she was the one that actually taught me to do she's the one that printed my first shirt design.
Oh.
And yeah, she was the first one. And then so she helped me a lot, and it just she did, and then also Mr. Chappelle did, and also Miss Pat Estes. She used to teach the sculpture class, and so she would tell me, hey, you're very good at designing. You're really good at doing sculpture. You're a natural at this stuff. And I thought, you know what? I this is fun. I love this. But again, I didn't know it was something you did as well.
Yeah.
And then as a teacher, I love it because it was so much, the teachers there, the school spirit there, not being here in Vegas, and because I was at Hesperia High a couple days ago, and I just made me appreciate it so much. I was like, man, I love this place, and I miss it, and I love it, and just the students, the staff, everyone there is just awesome. Yeah, even after I left, I felt like I was back home. I was received with like arms wide open.
Yeah, I graduated in 2010. So my journey there started in 2006. A little about myself, at least at the time, I was a musician. I was playing bands and stuff. I actually even performed at the Quad in the, at the Quad, during lunch, performed for the school. I think that was around 2010, and it was really cool. So my experience going to high school there was, without it sounding too cliche, it was almost like a movie, right? Because everybody had their own clique, and the jocks, just like you see in movies. It's kind of how we lived it. Cell phones were still not too advanced yet, so and not everybody had a phone in front of their face. So a lot of people were doing more creative things, and I think it was pretty cool. But about myself as an adult now, I'm entirely into cars. Like my life is all about cars, BMWs specifically. It's kind of helped me form a career now, and I'm still a pretty simple person. I like very simple things in my life. Good food, cars, movies, all the typical cool stuff is what I'm really into.
So getting into like what you like and what your activities and like, favorite things were, what kind of activities, clubs, or sports were you involved at your time at high school?
I wasn't into sports or really special activities that involved me being in them, but I loved attending games with all my friends. Just going to various even parties after the events. I'm sure that still goes on. And I think that was a really cool thing to be a part of. All the social circles that I was in, I had friends that, didn't have piercings or crazy hair. They're very normal, kids that were in the art class or the art program, or they were in, they were really into sports, varsity, this and that. So it was kind of just a crazy, like, good mix of people that I would involve myself with, and it was really cool.
Talking about your experiences, what was your favorite memory at your time here?
Probably playing house shows, getting the band together and inviting all our friends from the high school to come see us play at somebody's house and on the weekend, and I thought that was really cool. That's probably my fondest memories, is hanging out with friends, playing music, and just having a good time at school, even if it was at school or outside of school. We didn't get into too much trouble, but sometimes we did, but it's all part of it.
So would you say that your favorite hangout spot, like in high school, was like you going to like somebody's house and playing, or was it somewhere else?
Not necessarily anywhere specific. It was just wherever our group of friends were. Depending on what time of year it was, right? Because it would get pretty hot during the summer. One of our friends might have a pool, so or we might know somebody that has a pool, so we would go there. But it was really just wherever we decided to go. The mall was probably one of the places that people would walk around for hours and hours and hours. I'm sure that's still the case, but it was really just wherever we felt comfortable and happy to go at that moment. I remember one year we were at the movie theater every weekend, for forever, and it was pretty cool. Yeah, so I think wherever we decided to go is where we went.
And while you were at school, what was your favorite classes to take while you were here?
Well, I don't know if she's still there, but Miss Rodriguez was my geometry teacher, and that I was really bad at math. I still am. I guess I shouldn't be in charge of any books or anything, because I can't really do math. But her class was really cool. She was a very good teacher. She made me understand a lot of things that a lot of concepts about math that I didn't really grasp. I was just never really good at it. But I think that was one of my favorite classes because she was so easy to talk to and able to connect with me on another level to help me understand the concepts for that class. Other than that, it would be like very typical art class because it was pretty easy and we get to draw, right? So that was cool too. But on a deeper level, I think Ms. Rodriguez's class was pretty cool.
Yeah. Moving on to like your career and stuff. I know you told us that you were a mechanic. Can we know a little bit more about your job or what goes on at your job?
Yeah, sure. I think a lot of kids that are going to watch this maybe have Instagram. So maybe you can overlay the handle so they can see what we do here, because I can explain it and it really probably doesn't even sound that interesting. But my brother and I own this company where we work on BMWs, right? So we'll either build very race-centric cars where you take it on the track, and big turbos and all that stuff. I'm sure a lot of the gearheads listening to the broadcast probably know what I'm talking about. But we everything from that to maintaining and servicing, mom's grocery getter SUV. So it's a shop where we kind of do a little bit of everything, but it's all centered around BMW. So it's kind of, without seeing it, like I said, it's kind of you don't really grasp it. So I really encourage you guys to see the Instagram page. It's very age appropriate. There's nothing crazy on the Instagram page. So just in case, and Mr. Bernal is going to look at this before you show it, it just showcases our work and we're really proud of it.
Can you give us the name or the tag of your Instagram page just so we have it?
Yeah, same as the company. So at Super Beamer Bros, SUPER BIMMER BROS.
Okay, thank you.
What inspired you to go to this field?
So it wasn't until I was 21, so a good 10 years after leaving HHS. After high school, a lot of people had plans to go to college and all this stuff, and more power to them. It's not everybody's path, and that's okay. Maybe some people want to go to a trade school, and that's cool too. Trade school also involves learning mechanics, right? Or anything technical, and that's great. It took me a little while to figure out what I wanted to do, to be honest with you. The first 10 years out of high school, I was really into audio. Maybe not like broadcasting like you guys, but I was into recording music because, playing in the bands in high school inspired me to record and release music like on Spotify, right? Stuff like that. So for 10 years, that's what I chased. And I'm going to be honest with you, and then this is kind of maybe something that everyone should probably experience at least once. The juice isn't worth the squeeze if you're not entirely set up to do it, right? So I chased this dream of becoming an audio producer, music producer. And while I did see some success in some avenues of that, I wasn't able to convert that into a full-time, good paying job for me to pursue it for a career, for long term. So after that, after 10 years, I said, I couldn't really, I got real with myself, right? And I said, I don't think I can sustain myself or anybody, or for that matter, doing this job. So at around, I was 21, I bought my first BMW for about $1,000 from what I remember. And my brother I knew nothing about cars. So I was 21 at the time. So this is almost 15 years ago. I knew nothing about cars. So he inspired me to work on this old beat up BMW. Even though I kind of didn't really feel that, part of it, that I wanted to fix it. I just want to drive it, right? Everybody wants a car to drive to go places, but I had to really fix it. And you can include some pictures if you want. I can send you some pictures of the car. But at the time, I slowly started falling in love with it. And when I started falling in love with creating art with mechanics and, with this brand BMW, you start noticing that it's just like any other art. You kind of put your soul and love into it, and you make it your own. So I just got super obsessed. I'm obsessed till this day with the brand. I have about a dozen cars that I own, and it's just never ending. So when you fall in love with something like that deeply, and you give your life to creating a career out of it, it's really telling about how much you're gonna love the business that you create out of it. Even though sometimes those two shouldn't mix, but in this case, I got it to mix well enough to create a company with my brother to do just that, is fall in love with cars and fix people's cars and restore them and make them whatever they want.
So how is like a day in your life look like for you at work?
At work?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm not fully in the shop like 24/7. I have a team that does more of the hands-on stuff while I still assist them. My job now is to call people or call people back, answer the phones, schedule appointments for people to bring in their cars. It's more of what a service writer is. If you go to a dealership and you meet the person that's saying, "How can I help you today? And what's wrong with your car?" They take down your information. They get you the quote, and after that, your car gets driven back to the shop and they fix it, right? So I'm the person now that is the front facing, that would be talking to you if you brought your car in and said, "Hey, my car's making this sound. How much is it to fix it?" And that's kind of what I do now. But I get in here 9 o'clock, I meet the first couple people from the team and walk them through what's going to go on today. We start wrenching, everyone starts turning, the gears start turning for the day. And we only have 8 hours, and 8 hours doesn't sound like a lot of time, or it sounds like a lot of time, excuse me, but it goes by like that, right? So by the time 10 or 11 o'clock rolls around, I have to know what's going to happen by 5 o'clock. So it's a lot of planning, a lot of time management, kind of like you guys plan your days for whatever periods you're in. And your teachers will tell you, "Hey, today we're going to be doing this and that. I want it done before the end of class." It's kind of like that all day, right? 9 to 5. So it's kind of hectic, and it could be pretty crazy, especially if somebody comes to us and says, "Hey, I need this done today. Otherwise, I'm not going to give you my car to work on." As a business, we want to make sure that every client that we take in, we can promise them something and deliver the most, value and the highest form of service that you can experience anywhere else. So that's part of the reason why we're seeing some success, or we are seeing success, and we're just getting started.
Yeah. So what skills that you learned in high school do you still use in your career?
How to talk. So the more that you learn how to talk and speak to people, the more that's going to help you in any career that has to do with talking to people. So currently, any career that you go in, you're going to need to learn how to communicate with somebody, right? So learning how to communicate and when to communicate with somebody is very important. And that's something I learned in high school when people were afraid to ask questions. I learned how to ask the right questions and get the right information so I can succeed. I'm not gonna lie to you, I wasn't a straight A student. I had some difficulty in high school. but I was able to learn how to speak with my teachers and get them to see and understand what I'm trying to say to them, especially about my difficulties in whatever class we're talking about. That's helped me now because I can elaborate certain things that are wrong with people's cars in a way that they can understand me, right? Because I can speak car to you right now and you probably won't know anything I'm talking about, right? Unless you know a lot about cars. Learning how to communicate is key. So if people learn more in high school about how to communicate with people, especially with people that are authoritative above you, like your teachers or your principal, learn how to communicate with them. It's going to help you in the long run when you have a career.
So kind of like speaking off of that, what was one of like the biggest lessons you learned in your professional world, not only like communication?
Not only in communication?
Yeah, like something that one of the biggest lessons you've learned in your professional world so far.
Being realistic.
Mhm.
Don't overpromise if you can't deliver. And I think that's key in any career. Don't say that you can do XYZ if you can't do ABC, right? Never do that. Especially if you're trying to land a job or you want to get your dream job and they say, hey, you have to know, let's just say Microsoft Excel. You have to know Microsoft Excel in order to get this job. Don't say that you can do it because they're going to find out real quick that you lied. And being honest and transparent is always key. So it just, in short, it's not necessarily that we here at the company, we lied or anything about that. We were just a little too confident in what we can deliver. And at the end of the day, the client said, this has taken twice as long as you said. And I'm very upset now, basically. So once I had that experience of somebody that was very angry at me because I'm the one that promised him something, I learned from that moment, hey, if I tell you your card's gonna be done in a week, it better be done in a week, right? I can't promise a week if it's gonna take me 2 or 3 weeks to actually get it done. Mm-hmm. So I had that one scare with the client because here at Super Beamer Brothers, we're all about providing the most excellent experience and value of work and all that stuff. Once I got that wake-up call, it was over. I never did it again. So I always give people realistic expectations and realistic timelines for what they are paying for, because they do pay money at the end of the day. And when you take money, you better deliver, right? So that's kind of a gist of what the experience was like.
What advice would you give to students who want to enter the field of work?
Start now in high school. So so the automotive world has a million different jobs, right? You can be a tech and work on the cars. You can be a service writer and know how to build quotes and estimates to be able to make money, right? There's an entrepreneurial aspect of this, right? Like I own this company with my brother. I don't, so that in itself is like a business mindset. If you want to own a business, you got to start learning it now. A lot of people in high school that maybe make things and sell them at school to all their friends, in essence, they are, they have a business. It's a small business. So let's just say, people are making bracelets to sell at school, right? They have a cost, right? The cost of the materials to make the bracelet. They have their markup, right? What they're going to sell it for and what they're going to profit. They already have that business mindset. So if you apply the things that you want to do in your career now, you're going to learn and be way ahead of everybody else. And you're going to see success a lot sooner. So whether you want to be a mechanic, an artist, a broadcast engineer, right? Or even like a radio, even like a radio personality, you can do that as a job. So, but it all starts with experimenting and getting to know what you want to do way earlier than you think. You don't wait until you're done with high school. Do it now. You might not be able to afford a car to fix, but hey, go to the junkyard. The junkyard's only a couple dollars to get in, and go see how things work at the junkyard and taking stuff off of cars, even if you're not gonna, drive the car, right? So always start earlier than you think.
So, I wanted to know what was one obstacle you found like after high school, and how did you like overcome it?
What was one obstacle after high school?
Yeah. What was one obstacle like you faced after high school?
And how did you overcome it?
There were so many. So there was the time in my life after high school, during high school and after high school was very turbulent with my family. My parents were getting a divorce. It was very tough. So after high school, I didn't really have anywhere to go. So I had to get a job. I got a job at the Wendy's by the freeway. That was my first job. If you guys see the Pilot Wendy's, that's the one I worked at. I was only there for a bit. I was trying to figure out what to do because my family was basically kind of apart already at that point. And I couldn't navigate a lot of things. So I had to learn. I had to either sink or swim. All right, you guys know that phrase? So sink or swim is what I had to do. So luckily, my sister at the time she was able to help me a lot more than everybody else was, and I always will appreciate her for that. And I had to overcome, being borderline homeless, and then jumping couch surfing, with all my friends that graduated too. I would be like, "Can I stay at your house for a couple days?" So overcoming the obstacle of figuring out how to make money and having somewhere to live was the biggest obstacle. So that's why I always tell kids that are in high school now, if I had one piece of advice, is don't if you have a house with your parents or whoever you live with, don't take that for granted. Ask them how you can help to make the household, how to contribute in the household, because you never know whether you're going to live there tomorrow or the next day. So contribute to make sure you always have somewhere to live, right? So that was a really hard time in my life, and I'm really glad that I got over it and I didn't get into drugs or anything like that, or I didn't stay on the streets or anything like that. So luckily, I was able to navigate around all that.
So
My sister is Mrs. Scarce, by the way. She works at the school.
So when you figured out like what you want to do after high school, was it hard transitioning into that after just everything had happened?
Yes, yeah, because a lot of what everything is about these days is money, right? Sad to say, you need to have some sort of money to be able to do certain things with your life. Mm-hmm. I think being financially privy and financially educated is very difficult because it's not something that high school really focuses on. So I think even if you don't necessarily want a college education, what I recommend is going to the college and taking some business courses and knowing how money flows in and out of a business to be able to learn how to take money and use it wisely and apply it to what you want to do. So say if you want to start a business, you're not going to start a business with hopes and dreams. You need money, right? So you need to figure out how to get money to be able to start the business. Or even if you wanted to go into a trade career, a trade school costs money too. So you need to figure out how to get scholarships, how to get funding to be able to go to school. Even traditional college, right? Loans, how to process loans, how to get loans, how to do that, and how to then support yourself, knowing where to live and how to manage that too. Because if you're not good with your money, you're not going to be able to be good in whatever career you're going to try to get into, right? And it's really hard to kind of put the two and two together because I don't know, some people don't want to do the traditional route. Maybe they want to be a chef, right? Well, being a chef, you still need to know how much you need to get paid in order to be able to sustain yourself, to be able to have that career, right? You're not going to go in and get a chef job making $16 an hour and maybe not survive very long, right?
Okay. Looking back, what would you tell your high school self?
Kind of what I'm telling you guys now, because nobody told me this in high school, but I would say, go ahead and run with your interests, but be a little smarter about it. Have a little more, pay attention to certain details, right? And be smarter about your choices of what you're doing. Like I said, I never necessarily got in trouble, but I wasn't exactly the most responsible kid ever. What kid is? But I think take hold of your responsibilities as a high school student, and ask yourself, how can you be more responsible today, and how can I do the right thing, right? Because we always are at the crossroads of do I do the right thing, or do I do the thing that sounds pretty cool, right? Always choose the right thing.
A question I had for you was, how did your time at HSS shape you?
Say that one more time, sorry.
How did your time at HSS shape you as a person today?
It made me my time at HHS made me realize that there's a lot of different people in the world, and you shouldn't judge. I mean, it sounds cliche, but you shouldn't judge people. You shouldn't judge a book by its cover, because the people that you least suspect or expect to help you in your time of need, and whatever it may be the last person that you'd expect that would help you, right? So I think the variety of people that I hung around with, whether they're black, white, Asian, whatever, I made friends with anybody. I didn't care what they believed in, or what who they were, or who their parents were. I didn't really care. All I cared at the end of the day, were they good people to me? And do we consider each other friends, or would I help that person? Yeah, because at the end of the day, we're all go to the same school, right? So I learned to basically love all my friends equally, no matter what they look like, and that's helped shape me into the person I am today, where I can encounter just about anybody that walks through my doors, and I help them equally. At the end of the day, if they treat me like I'm the bad person, whatever it may be, it doesn't matter what color they are. I'm gonna have to deal with them regardless, right? So it's, I guess, putting biases out the door. Like, don't take in whatever racial biases that you're fed now. Just love people for who they are, right? And accept them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And
Yeah.
For our final question for today, if you could give one piece of advice to current students about high school, what would it be?
Advice. So I get it. Just come back to the same thing, to your prior question. My biggest piece of advice: you should guys all get along. Mm-hmm. Try to get along with the people you don't know. Maybe get to know new people that you've never talked to. Now's your time to get to know as many people as you can, and be friends with them, and maybe make some connections or whatever. Because after high school, maybe the people that you're sitting next to right now, maybe they're going to start a business, or they're going to go somewhere and need your help, or whatever it might be. You can shape your futures together now, as long as you know how to get along right now. There's plenty of people I went to high school that, started businesses and this and that, and or went to school, or had a career. And a lot of those people I still support. If they went to trade school and became plumbers, guess who I'm going to call? Right? I'm not going to call the random guy off Google. I'm going to call Ryan that I went to school with, because guess what? I remember him. We were friends, and he looks like he's a pretty damn good plumber. I'm going to call them. So think about your relationships now and how they're going to apply to you in the future, especially when you need help with certain things, or who you're sitting next to right now might become something that you could really lend a helping hand in the future. So just get along with everybody. Put your differences aside. It's not worth it. Just have a good time. Have fun in high school.
I'm originally from Los Angeles, LA, and I moved to the high desert the end of 8th grade year. So I did Hesperia Junior High, and then I went into Hesperia High School. And I did all my 4 years there, and I graduated in 2011. So a long time ago. Yeah.
So when you were going to Hesperia High School, what activities, clubs, sports were you in?
I did BSU, so Black Student Union. And then I also did, I was a cheerleader my junior year.
Oh, that's cool.
I think that's all I did. Was that all I did? Yeah, I think that's all I did.
Well, that's very fun.
That is very fun.
Do you have any favorite memory you had here?
Definitely the year that I cheered was lots of fun. Competitions, cheering for football and everything. So I'm into sports. Um, I made good relationships with teachers, Miss Gears, who I'm still good friends with now. And other teachers who are no longer there. And I also made some friends as well that I still have to this day.
Oh, that's really nice. So did you have any like favorite hangout spot in high school?
Where do we hang out at? I'm trying to think. It was the benches right in front of the cafe. I know it's changed much, but the benches right in front of the cafeteria to your left. Everybody like hung out there. The quad was a place in the middle. That's really it. All right. Honestly, some days I just sat in the classroom and ate my lunch. I didn't want to be bothered.
Yeah. Did you have any favorite classes while you were here?
Well, I'm trying to think of how long ago this was. I had Spanish, which I did not even pass, but I loved the class. Let's see. I had a math teacher that was, I wouldn't say class, but the teachers made the class well. So like one year, my math year, either my freshman or sophomore year, we had a really cool math teacher. So I would go there. I took Miss Gears 2 years for Spanish. Like I said, did not pass it. Or maybe I had C's. I had to have C's. But I still enjoyed the class. Any other class? Oh, dance. Sophomore year, they offered dance for PE.
Oh,
That was probably my best
that
class.
I didn't have that.
Oh yeah, we used to have Miss Milton. She also did our tryouts, but then they let her go because of budget cuts.
Okay.
But dance was my sophomore year.
Can you tell us about your current job or career path?
Yes, so I am a director for a state-funded agency. So we're a childcare that's state-funded. So most of our funds all come from the state or grants. And agency has 5 locations, and I'm a director for one of their locations. And I've pretty much been on this path most of my life. I started off as a preschool teacher, like as an aide, making $10 an hour. Then I went into teaching as an actual like master teacher, they would call it, so the lead teacher. And then I went into being a director.
Oh, that's cool. So what inspired you to go into that field of work?
I thought I wanted to be an elementary school teacher. And then when I so I went to VVC after high school. I went straight into Victor Valley Community College. I did my 2 years and a semester there. And I thought I wanted to do elementary teaching until I took child development classes. And I took them with Miss Sandy over at VVC. I think she's still there. And I fell in love with it and just the development of children from birth to 5 years of age, and like how much they actually learn when people don't think children learn that much. I think they all learn it in elementary and high school, but it all starts at 0 to 5.
Yeah.
So that inspired me to go into get my master's in early childhood education.
Oh, that's very interesting. So what does a day in your life look like at work?
Well, I come in and I have 4 classrooms I oversee. I have about 22 staff, and the classroom are from infant room, toddler room, young preschool, older preschool. So I come in, I check on everybody to make sure they're in ratio. So enough teachers to children ratio. I make sure they don't need anything, or if they do, what they need, so I can get it for later in the day. Once I check on them, it's pretty much whatever needs to be done, whether it's payroll, whether it's a meeting, whether it's ordering things, whether it's cleaning out my office. So,
Oh yeah.
different things.
So what skills from high school do you think you actually use in your career now?
I don't know if they still offer it, but back then there was an ECE like class, I forget the name of it, but you took the baby home and you made sure the baby didn't cry. So I would say that class helped me also decide what I wanted to do. But also just showing up every day to school and doing your best, because you have to do that once you get out of school. You have to show up every day and do your best in order to get paid, for one,
Yeah.
and for 2, to keep a job. So you just have to find the motivation in high school that you're going to take through the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Um, what has been one of the biggest lessons you've learned in this professional world?
Biggest lesson. How do I say this? Like you have to you kind of gotta look out for yourself and motivate yourself to do better. Like you don't stop in one spot. I could have been an aide forever, but I decided to like keep going. So what motivates me is like, what's the next step for me after this? Pretty much.
Oh yeah.
And following up on that, what advice would you give to students now who are trying to enter into your field?
Think of it as like a lifelong lesson. I'm a mom. I have one little baby, he's 4, and that has helped me even become a mom, at least in my field. That has helped me recognize things I would have never thought about as somebody who didn't understand early education. Their emotion, how they regulate their emotion. They're not just crying because they're sad or because they want to get on your nerves. They're crying for a reason. Why are they crying? How to regulate what their emotions are like and how to acknowledge their emotions. So I think it just takes a lot of somebody willing to do the work, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did your time at HHS shape who you are today?
I always say I loved high school and I hated high school. I loved it because it did help me like show up for myself every day. Even when I was a cheerleader, you have to show up. You have a team to be a part of. And then also just the inspiration of other teachers that help you along the way. It helped me get here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you could, give one piece of advice to current high school students right now about high school, what would that be?
Don't take it as a joke. Though it is fun. It is lots of fun. You get to do fun activities, fun dances, but there's also some seriousness behind it because that would help you shape your future as well. So don't just think as it, go and do your best, but also enjoy the time there.
My name is Carla Diaz. I'm currently 22 years old. I graduated from Hesperia High School back in 2020. So this is the time of COVID. I had my senior year during COVID, which was not as expected, but it was an interesting, turn of events. But it was nice to still be able to have somewhat of a graduation and things like that.
Yeah. What activity, clubs, or sports were you involved in during high school?
During high school, I was definitely involved in volleyball. I played volleyball for some time during freshman year. In terms of clubs, I was a part of the Science Olympiad for some time. However, due to COVID, our time was really cut short. Let's see. I'm trying to remember if there was anything else. I don't think I was as involved in clubs just due to the fact that I was taking AP classes at the time. It was a lot of honors on top of sports. So the workload already for me was too much that I really needed to make sure that I focused on my academics, have the good standing for sports. So therefore, being able to engage in clubs would be challenging for me from time to time.
Do you have a favorite memory from your time here? Like from when you were in school?
I think my favorite memories have to be when I would be in my math classes, just because that's where usually all my friends were, all the fun classes were at. Math was always my favorite subject, and even then having like cool teachers such as Mr. Lynch and Mr. Adams, they were always very open and very, supportive in the environment. So then I think even that, was really nice. So I think that had to be my favorite memories of high school.
Did you have like a favorite hangout spot, like when you were in high school?
In high school, my favorite hangout spot, I feel like it was the tables outside, like in front of the restrooms where you have that little tree, and those benches. That was always a great time, especially after ECA. That was our favorite hangout spot. Just waiting for classes to go, especially when we're done early. Those were really fun. So yeah.
What were your favorite classes while you were here?
Some of my favorite classes had to be Mm, definitely the math ones, math analysis, calculus. I also really enjoyed, what were those classes? Um, I'm trying to remember. It was a while back, so I'm sorry. Let's see, what other classes are there? Mm, oh, I really enjoyed my chemistry class with Mr. Cornelio. I know he's no longer there, but he was a really fun teacher. There were some instances for the clubs, where we would also engage in like mini science projects just for our own sake. So that was really interesting and really fun. So I really enjoyed his chemistry class. Um, yeah, so I enjoyed mainly like my science and math courses just because they're really interesting. Anatomy was also one of my favorites. I think anatomy is what kind of pushed me to spark my interest into wanting to work in like a hospital, like a medical field, things like that. However, in terms of working with the human body one on one, I did end up taking a route to be a mental health, clinician.
So we were told that you had recently graduated from college. Would you rather talk about that, or would you rather talk about your career or your professional life?
Hmm. I want to say that mine are really correlated to one another, just because I just graduated from Cal State Fullerton in 2024. Let me rewind. Due to the ECA classes I took in Hesperia High School, I transferred over to Victor Valley College, and I finished off my general ed and focused on major related courses. I did 2 years there, which allowed me to get 4 different associate's degrees. So then that really helped me kind of determine what I wanted to study down the line. So eventually I pursued the field of psychology, right? I have my background is psychology, social and behavioral science, sociology, and then I even have a math and science degree because I mentioned those were my favorite courses in high school. So then I transferred over to Cal State Fullerton, and I got my bachelor's in psychology with a minor in child and adolescent studies. So I enjoy working with the younger population in terms of mental health. Graduating from Cal State Fullerton, I transferred over to Loma Linda University, and I'm currently in my master's program, which is allowing me to get my licensing for marriage and family therapy. So again, since I really do enjoy working with children, I'm also getting a play therapy certificate embedded. So with that in mind, I'm currently working at a clinic right now to obtain those hours for my academic career, as there are hour requirements that you need to meet. So then that's allowing me, to get experience working with clients. Right now I work as a therapist, as a student clinician through Loma Linda. And then I have, I work mainly with children. I have couples assigned to me, things like that. So it's been a lot of interconnected work in terms of professional and academic career.
So what made you choose your college or university? So Cal State Fullerton and Loma Linda.
So for me, it has to be the opportunities, and even then, just financial circumstances, right? Going into BBC, I did want to pursue a 4-year university at first. However, seeing the financial opportunities, and even then what educational opportunities BBC was offering me for my first 2 years to start off to complete my general eds and things like that, I went with BBC for that first route. Just because it offered me so many more opportunities to get so much more experience in terms of different educational pathways and things like that. And it provided me support, right? I had an amazing counselor who was assigned to me, who encouraged me to stick with all of my educational routes, all of the different degrees. Even then, she was the one that would tell me like, hey, you can get another degree if you take 1 or 2 more classes. So she was really a big push for me. So that was mainly why I went to BBC. In terms of Cal State Fullerton, I know typically you have the 2 closer options, which are San Bernardino and Fullerton. But for me, I really wanted to branch out, and kind of see what opportunities would be provided for me. Even then, through Cal State Fullerton's Allied Health Academy, they reached out to me, beforehand, and they were telling me about all this internship programs and internship opportunities they offer for allied health professions. So then that really caught my interest. So I was like, maybe this is a sign. Let's see how this goes. So I went ahead and did Fullerton. Initially, I had applied to be a computer science major, but Fullerton allowed me to switch that before enrolling into my classes into psych. So then I feel like that was the biggest door opener for me. That kind of allowed me to choose Cal State Fullerton. And I don't regret it one bit, especially because they were so easy to let me add in a minor at any point in time. And they even would tell me kind of how BBC guided me that my courses would overlap, allowing me to finish things much sooner. And so then, in addition to that, I chose Loma Linda afterwards upon graduating from Cal State Fullerton because of their online program. They have an online program that allows you to work anywhere you are. You know, it really helps you manage your classes, and they're very, very supportive in what you're going to do in terms of career wise. So then Loma Linda really caught my interest, especially because I find it to be a prestigious location that works well-rounded with a lot of health, related fields. So seeing that there's a big spike in mental health concerns and mental health, support demands, even then, whether it's in terms of medical, whether in terms of just day-to-day functioning, that's what really sparked my interest through Loma Linda's program.
What inspired you to go into the field that you went into?
So for me, I guess my experience in high school was just trying to understand everybody. So for me, it was not only trying to understand myself and where I fit in. I think we probably hear the term imposter syndrome a lot, where you're not really sure who you are in certain settings. You're not really sure who you might be, with certain people at the end of the day, and you kind of fluctuate between different personalities, things like that. So I think just trying to understand myself and understand that, others and why they come to react or respond in different ways really sparked my interest. Because at the end of the day, there's this widely known term as projection, where at the end of the day, you feel something and you don't directly mean it towards another person, but you project whatever has caused you to feel some sort of distress, right? So afterwards, learning that term, I was like, wow, like this is something I'm really interested in. I want to understand others, because at the end of the day, I feel like a lot of things aren't genuinely directed towards an individual one-on-one. It's more, there's other factors that we don't see that lie beyond the aspect of providing kindness to others, being patient with others and being supportive. So with that in mind, I was really just seeking, how can I understand others, myself, and even then be that source of support.
What does a day in the life look like at work for you?
So a day in the life for me, I'll wake up roughly at 9 a.m. depending on the day. I'll get ready for my day. Usually at the clinic, I'm in charge of scheduling my own clients, documentations, making sure their notes are up to date, having a plan for the session, things like that. So then roughly I'll head over to the clinic probably around 10 a.m. Start doing either catching up on notes from the previous week, catching up on notes from this current week. I will meet my clients. Sometimes their sessions will last from an hour to 2 hours, depending, whether it's an individual session, a child session, or, you have a couple session, they're able to go to 2 hours, things like that. So scheduling just depends on the client that I'll be seeing for that day. Afterwards, it's taking some time to either decompress, because sometimes you're facing these heavy emotions within the session, or even then if you're able to continue, it's just catching up on my notes, making sure that everything is in place regarding the treatment plans, regarding any, potential safety plans that need to be in place in case there's, the concern of suicide, things like that. So making sure that everything is in line. Even then, just making sure I'm recalling any important information that I need to make sure I keep in mind for further sessions down the line, to make sure that the treatment plan we have in place, or for our future sessions are more progressive as time goes. Afterwards, just depending on the time in between, it's either staying at the clinic, catching up on notes, then getting ready to see another client, or sometimes I'll see a client a day. It just depends how many clients are available during the times I offer them. And on top of that, I do screenings at the clinic as well, since I'm one of the Spanish speaker clinicians there. So then I get a lot of caseloads, where I have to translate a lot of our documentation, to make sure we're gonna be providing the best level of care, the most appropriate level of care for them, or if they need to be transferred out to a higher level, since we are student based. So everything we do is just students, working towards our licensing, getting our hours, things like that.
What kind of skills in high school do you use in your career currently?
Skills in high school that I have come to develop would be question asking. I feel like that is very, very important. Noting that I myself am an introvert and really do not like putting myself out there, even then asking questions, I learned that it is very important in high school, especially because if you don't ask, you will never know, right? I think that a lot of my opportunities that I was able to take part of, during high school and all of the experiences I was able to obtain academically and things like that were because I would ask my counselor questions. Miss Lanning was my counselor. She helped me out throughout my 4 years of high school. She supported me in every which way. Any question I had at any time, she was always so open and kind to helping me out, guiding me in the right direction, even telling me all my different options that would be best suitable for me. So I feel like that has been a major skill that I have come to use throughout my whole academic experience because I haven't been afraid to ask questions, especially if it's with someone who I know has their best interest for me and will benefit me, right? And will give me the different options as to what would be more fitting or more convenient based off of my current circumstances.
What's one of the biggest lessons you've learned in the professional world?
One of the biggest lessons I have learned is that no one really cares to compare to you. I feel like that is very important because in high school, I would feel like I had to compare myself to others or others would compare themselves to me. And it would just really decrease or like really impact my sense of individuality, and my own self-esteem, my own self-confidence, I know this may not apply to everybody, but that was just my experience. So then going into the professional world, I stopped caring more about how others felt, or how others may perceive the work I'm doing and things like that. So then aside from worrying about others and what they would have to say about me and like my work and my success, for me, it was more like if I focused on myself, what would that look like? And I think since then, I've been able to feel more proud about my accomplishments, more proud about the work I do. I've come to feel that my successes are my own. So whether I succeed or if I fail, I know that those are my downfalls and only I know what's my next step at the end of the day.
What advice would you give to a student who wanted to enter your field?
For a student wanting to enter my field, it would definitely be take as many opportunities as you are given, but do not burn yourself out. I can speak from that firsthand. There were points where I would take 6 to 7 classes at a time, just to be able to finish quicker, just because I felt like I could take on this workload. And I was able to, but there is that sense of burnout at the end of the day that you continue to feel. So I think it's just very important, especially learning more about the impacts of burnout in a mental health sense. It's just very important to know your limits, take your time. At the end of the day, regardless of how long it took you to do your degree, you can finish later, you can finish sooner, but you're still obtaining the same degree at the end of the day, right? So it's definitely putting yourself first and definitely prioritizing sleep, prioritizing eating, prioritizing, anything to decompress, to de-stress, and things like that.
So what's one obstacle you faced after high school and how did you overcome it?
One obstacle I faced was definitely managing time management, and it was mainly in terms of work and school. So right after high school, I started working. I've worked in so many different fields. I've worked as an avid tutor, I've worked as a substitute paraeducator, I've worked as a substitute bilingual assistant. I've even come to work at VVC itself as a ambassador. We help you enroll in school, just in case anybody's interested. It was a math tutor as well. It was managing, volleyball, being a coach in college as well, coaching club teams, officiating on the weekends, things like that. So at that point, it was kind of the imbalance of working and managing my time at school, especially with volleyball practice in college and things like that. So I guess those were my biggest challenges. Once I graduated from VVC, I decided to take more of a step back and kind of see what is it that I can genuinely handle now that I will be taking more major related courses, and these are going to be essential to me in my field down the line. So at that point, I was like, okay, I'll leave all these jobs because I was working them simultaneously for some time. So I left all those jobs. I ended up getting one permanent job as a TK instructional assistant for about 3 years, starting my time at Fullerton, and that definitely allowed me to manage my time more. I ended up taking less classes. Through Fullerton, I stick with my bare minimum of 4 classes. If at the end of the day I needed to take one over summer, I would take one. And even then, that was only one time. So then managing that time really helped me realize that there's so much more to life than just being stuck in a book. I need to be more focused on experiences. What can I offer to others? What can I do with my friends? What can I do to calm down and decompress? So then definitely encouraging the importance of time management and mental health together was one of my biggest challenges during my time.
Sorry.
You're okay.
Oh, how did you figure out what you wanted to do after high school?
So after high school, it was definitely a lot of trial and error. Going through VVC, I initially wanted to become a computer science major because it was definitely one of my favorite things to do, especially taking Mr. Henderson's computer class, AP computer literacy course, that was really interesting to me. I really liked the aspect. But when it came to VVC, as I mentioned, the time management aspect wouldn't allow me to be as patient with myself in terms of coding. And even then, I feel like to an extent, as much as I am introverted, I like helping others. But then at the same time, I was like, I want to help others, but I'm not sure if I can handle, the traumas that come in terms of health and medical responses. Right. So at the end of the day, I was like, what's another field that will allow me to provide that support for others and be able to still ensure that they're living life to the best of their abilities. So at that point, I was like, what's the second best thing I could do aside from medical work? And it was definitely mental health. So at that point, I was like, you know what, let's give it a shot. I took a couple psychology classes. It opened up my eyes, to my own development, and things that I wanted to be mindful of as to why I come to respond in certain ways. So then knowing that, I was like, okay, if I can interpret this about myself, how can I help others interpret that for themselves and be able to shift anything that may be impairing their day-to-day functioning? So I think at that point, that's when I was like, you know what, I think psych is the route for me.
Looking back, what would you tell your high school self?
Looking back, I would tell myself to just stay confident in my own abilities. I think in high school, you're still discovering yourself. You're still trying to figure out who you want to be, who you are, things like that. So I think for me, it was a lot of terms of self-confidence. So if I would have been as confident in myself as I am now, I feel like I probably would have done more. I could have reached more of my greater potential at the end of the day. But, I also would tell my younger self to just be more inclined with the staff because some of the staff is really nice, Miss Scarce, absolutely love her. She's been a very big supportive part in my life. Even after high school, she's still out here supporting me, and being just that source of comfort that I can do it and reassurance that I can do things that I set my mind to. So I think it's just encouraging that, if there's a staff member you are fond of, or that you do feel supported by, it's like definitely take advantage of that time you spend together in high school where you can see them often, because then afterwards you may or may not have access to them afterwards.
How did your time at Hesperia High School shape you into the person you are today?
So my experience through Hesperia High School shaped me into who I am today by allowing me to understand that it's me versus me at the end of the day. I know in high school you become more worried about, social stigmas, and fitting in and things like that. And even then, you have certain teachers that are going to support you, other teachers you may not be as connected with. So I think it's just understanding that the battles or the challenges you face, you have the choice whether you want to face them and how you're going to respond to them, or even then if you just go along for the ride. and you go about that way on how you want to respond to everything that's happening outside of you, right? There's a favorite quote I have where it's like, let me pull it up really quick, sorry. This is something I started to go by after high school, which was between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space is our power to choose our response. So I feel like learning that throughout my high school experience, that my responses are my own choice, I think I was able to definitely take that into the real world and be like, okay, is this something I really do need to focus and spend my time on? Or are there other more important things that I can come to prioritize for my own well-being?
So I graduated Hesperia High School in 2024. I actually am a 3-year graduate. So I was supposed to graduate this past semester in 2025. However, I was able to get my things together, and work it out. So I did become a 3-year graduate. Right now I'm currently studying at Victor Valley College, our local community college. And I'm studying, my major that I want to transfer for is mechanical engineering. But I am working on getting my associate's degree in mathematics. And while getting my associate's degree at BBC in mathematics, I am working on getting 4 other degrees as well. So it's definitely a lot, but through my experience in high school and things like that, I did take college courses in high school as well. So that really helped introduce me into the college aspect. So now it's honestly just a breeze. And I currently work at Hesperia Junior High as an avid tutor, as an avid college tutor, with 7th and 8th graders, and it's honestly a lot of fun. I love the environment that I work in, and I love really being able to help those students, especially since I am Mexican American, it has been really difficult for us in this time, so I really want to advocate for those students and show those students, that sí se puede, and that we could really, work this fight together. So yeah, that's what I'm doing currently.
Yeah. Okay. What activities, clubs, or sports did you were you in when you were here?
Throughout my time in high school,
Yeah.
yes. So in high school, I was involved in a variety of activities that really helped shape me. I did play basketball, softball, and volleyball, both in high school and in club. And it really taught me teamwork and discipline as well as perseverance, and I really want to thank all of my coaches, throughout the years, because that really helped shape who I am today. Throughout my time in high school, I also did join performing arts, where I gained the confidence, and creativity. And I am especially grateful to Mr. Gonzalez, who made the experience meaningful and inspiring, I was also involved in robotics, as well as serving as a VEX robotics coach at Maple Elementary School, and encouraging students to think critically, and that was part of my volunteer work. I would also volunteer with Miss Angie at Hesperia Junior High as well, and I'm grateful to say that I am now an assistant basketball coach at Hesperia Junior High. So that really did help me out as well. I was also an officer in the Hesperia High Democrats Club, where I worked to create a more inclusive environment by helping organize events to celebrate and uplift marginalized communities. And I want to give a really big thanks to Ms. Gazarian for always guiding me and supporting me in that role.
Okay. What was your favorite memory when you were here?
Honestly, one of my favorite memories from high school was building meaningful connections with teachers and staff members who truly supported and inspired me. I really enjoyed being Miss Scarce's TA, where I not only helped her inside of the classroom, but she really helped me grow and inspire through her guidance, and through her encouragement, and I'm beyond grateful for her, and I also did make a lot of great memories with Mr. Gonzalez, who made learning engaging and motivating. And beyond the high school campus, I also appreciate all the opportunities that I had to connect with district leaders, such as Mr. Alex Cristales, the director for K through 12 grade program. programs. He has always supported me and my family, and in all that we do, so I'm extremely grateful for him. I also want to mention, like, again, Ms. Gazarian, who's always there for me whenever, like, I needed her, and she never failed to remind me, of my full potential, and the relationships that I formed with these mentors are some of the best parts of my high school experience, and they continue to inspire me today.
Yeah, it's always very good to have like a very good supporting system, especially when you're getting older, because it's tend to like it inspires students. Oh, I guess we're not the only ones out there that can do it with getting help and access to other things.
Exactly,
That is good, though.
and especially, as you grow older, like you start to grow out of, friendships and things like that, because again, a lot of people move to college, and it does become very different, but I know that my support system will always be there, and especially with these teachers that I've grown with, and they've taught me so much, like I'm beyond forever grateful for them always.
Yes. So, what was your favorite hangout spot when you were like in break time or in lunch?
Oh, like during nutrition and lunch. That's honestly kind of tough. But I really did like hanging out in like the little park area in the S buildings. That was always fun, but what else? I always liked the shaded area, by again by the S buildings. I feel like that was always my hangout spot. I also liked hanging out in the library. Honestly, the library was really calming, especially, like during early college academy when we would get out of class early and stuff like that. It's like we would hang out in there, and just like do homework, study sessions, or like me and my friends would just talk, so it was honestly like a really good experience. I do have to say though, a great hangout spot was Mr. Lynch's room. He's honestly amazing, makes it so much fun, makes lunch like really great, you get to play speed with him and things like that. So honestly, it's really fun with him as well.
Yeah. What was one of your favorite classes while you were here?
While in high school, I feel like one of my favorite classes was, again, definitely Miss Scarce's TA class. Me and her would always like talk, chit chat, we'd snack. So we'd have a lot of fun, and of course that always still help her like in the classroom and things like that, but the environment that she creates for her students is honestly amazing. So I just feel like that's my home, but I feel like another class would have to be definitely Mr. Gonzalez. Mr. Gonzalez's class was always fun. Ms. Gazarian's class was definitely a lot of fun as well. And yeah, and although I never had a Mr. Lynch was my coach at some point. So I do have like a close bond with him as well. So I feel like hanging out with in his classroom again was always great, and his environment for the students as well was always super great, because he tried to build a close bond with everybody. I also did love Mr. Garcia's class for enhanced integrated math 3. It was always so much fun in his class too, his teaching styles and things like that. It's always so much fun, especially in a math class. I'm a math major, so it was always definitely fun. I feel like that's where I grew my love for math.
Yeah, it's always good to have like a good environment to like a class that has a good environment, so you're able to focus and do everything good, because when it's a bad environment, you can't really focus properly.
Exactly, yes, and I totally agree with that.
Yeah. Okay, so what made you choose your college or university?
Honestly, my choice for Victor Valley College was definitely, the financial aspect, but as well as I wasn't ready to move away, from my family, and I honestly knew that what I wanted to do, which was honestly go in and support like marginalized communities and go in and support, students as well, so I feel like I found that at Hesperia Junior High with the job that I currently have, so I feel like that was always my dream. And so I knew that staying here was honestly going to benefit me and myself, and like I love to spend time with my family. and they're my everything, so I just wasn't ready for that, especially since I graduated at 17. It was just like, oh no, like I'm not ready for that, and I'm still not ready for that. I'm currently 18 now, but it's like I'm still not ready for that, but I do plan to transfer out to UC Riverside to continue my studies. So I feel like it'll definitely be different. I mean, but I guess we just have to wait and see, but I definitely wanted to stay within the state, didn't want to move away or anything like that, just because of the fact that, again, me and my family are so close, so it's like I love the community here, and I love everything about, the HD. So I know a lot of people don't like it, but it's like, me personally, that's how I feel, and it's like Victor Valley College has brought me so many opportunities that like I could have never even imagined, like currently I'm in a STEM program, where they give me the opportunity, like just like last year we did visit Google campus, and things like that, and they showed us around, gave us a tour, and the campus in Irvine, so it was really cool. It was definitely something. So yeah, I just feel like the opportunities at Victor Valley College are honestly amazing and great, and it's like my professors always help me. They're always willing to help me, and especially in these challenging classes where it's like, I don't know what I'm doing right now. I'm currently taking, like mathematics and chemistry. I'm taking Calc 3, so it's like I'm able to branch out there, to and continue making relationships with these teachers, these professors, these counselors and things like that. So I feel like that was the biggest aspect for my choice.
Yeah, it's always important to like have those available,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's also very good to stay in your family because it's like your comfort with like family, so therefore you're able to study well, and universities are like not so hard to go to and do everything.
Exactly, and it's like we're all getting the same degree at the end of the day, and it's like I decided to graduate with my 5 associate's degrees and things like that, and it's like I know in the long run that'll help me, so it's like that was also a main part of it, especially because my mom did go to VVC as well as my sister, so I feel like it's just become like a family tradition. So I'm like, okay, and I'm the baby of the house, so I'm like, okay, like might as well just go to VVC. I mean, see what opportunities it has for me, and see what the future holds for myself.
Yeah. But what studies or like majors were like, why did you choose your major?
Honestly, it had a big part to do with, how I mentioned earlier, the robotics aspect that I've always been interested in, like myself when I was at Maple, I did, I was in the VEX robotics program, and that helped me, and that helped me with my creativity, and we had to do programming and we had to build the robots and things like that, and we learned about all the wiring and things like that. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I wonder if they offer that, and mechanical engineering is a big subheading for robotics, and especially one of my biggest things about, going to UC Riverside is because of the fact that they're one of the only schools that offer a bachelor's degree in robotics, so, and they work on like the cars and things like that, the robotic cars and stuff like that. So that's always been my interest. I've always been interested in automotives as well. So I'm like, okay, like metals, automotives, mathematics, something hard, something challenging, but yeah, so I was like, you know what, like I think I'm gonna do this. And every time that I tell somebody, like, oh, like I'm studying mechanical engineering, I feel like a lot of people look at me and they're like, and I feel like I want to change that, especially for like the women in STEM. I feel like that's definitely a big goal, and again, I say, as a Mexican American in STEM as well, and female, it's like we don't get much recognition, especially in a male dominated field, like mechanical engineering. So I feel like that was definitely a big part of why I chose my studies, and because like it's honestly fun, and you get to make these new connections, and especially because there's only like 3 or 4 girls like in my calculus class, and I'm like, hey, like let's talk, let's like chit chat it up, like I want to get to know you guys, and I'm as well as the males, like I want to get to know you guys, see what this is about, because honestly, you guys all struggle together, so it's definitely like, okay, we're struggling together, then like we're like a big family and we're a big group, so I feel like that was definitely a big decision, and especially since I did go back during my high school years to Maple Elementary to help coach robotics. That's where I really grew my love, and it's like I want to help these students out, and it makes the best of both worlds, like helping students out, which I've always wanted to do, as well as, the robotics field, so I was like, that's something I've always wanted to do. So it honestly just kind of brings two and two together, and they go hand in hand, so I'm like, it's honestly just about, help and motivation that I'm really like intrigued about this, and especially like I said, as a female, it's definitely hard. It's definitely a hard thing to do, but I feel like I said before, with motivation and courage, like, and determination, you could do it, and I want to be that role model for lots of like students and lots of people as well. It's like regardless if I graduated high school, if others didn't, it's like we're all the same. Like, at the end of the day, we are all the same, so I want to, really emphasize that, and emphasize that equality, because especially, again, as a female, it's definitely hard in the field. But yeah, that's definitely why I chose it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've always, like you said, robotics is very good, especially helping out those students that are like in need, because typically elementary students or even junior high students, they see us as a role model. Like, oh, hey,
Yes.
they did it and they're able to do it. Maybe I could do it. So it's actually very good.
Yes,
You
exactly.
decided to help those others that go to elementaries and help them out. So it's actually very good. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. How did high school prepare you for the college life?
Honestly, especially through the sports and things like that I was a part of, that really did help me grow, but definitely something that I like learned in high school that helped me prepare for my professional and academic career was the ability to advocate for myself, and speak up, whether it was adults, staff members, counselors, or like even classmates. I learned the importance of like using my voice and believing in my own goals, and believing in myself. Like, for example, when I decided to graduate early, many staff members told me that it would not be possible, and that I couldn't do it, and that because it was going to be too hard, and that's when I definitely learned, that my values are for me, my goals are mine, and my dedication is where that really helped me out, and I didn't let that discourage me, and I just kept pushing. I stayed determined, and I did end up graduating early, so it's like I was able to do it, I don't know where that idea came from that I wasn't able to do it, and that experience did show me, that even when someone says that you can't do something, if you really put your heart into it, you can achieve anything you strive for, and I feel like that's definitely something that we all need to hear, because your goals are yours, don't let anybody discourage you, don't let anybody take that away from you, especially because in the professional world, in the academic world, it's like you have to learn how to advocate for yourself, especially right after high school. It's like you get that gust of wind, like, oh shoot, like this is life, this is for real now. Like in college, the counselors, they just choose your classes for you. They don't then, but you have to decide your major. You have to decide when you want to schedule your classes. It's not like high school how your schedule is put together for you. Like in college, it's definitely different. Like you get to pick and choose your times, your job as well. It's like you need to advocate for what's right and what you believe is right in yourself. So I feel like that's definitely something that I definitely learned in high school, because although there were those supportive teachers and those supportive staff members, there were also many that didn't help me, that didn't support me in anything that I did, so it's like I definitely feel like that's not right. But on my part, I definitely think that you should just stay determined. Don't let anybody knock you down from your pedestal, like you have your own values and you matter, and that's definitely something that I want to share with everyone, because sí se puede, as us, Hispanics say, sí se puede, always.
Yeah. What has been your favorite college experience been so far?
Honestly, so far, I feel like my greatest college experience has been, making new connections. Again, whether that's counselors, professors, like the professors are so chill in college that it's like, oh my gosh, like they wouldn't let that slide in high school, but it's like now in college, it's like the professor doesn't care. Like you show up to class, you show up to class, but that's your decision. It's like because evidently you're an adult, so it's like it's your decision if you want to go to class or not. But if you fail the exam, that was your choice, so I feel like that's definitely a good learning experience for a lot of us, but like right now currently I'm taking like 3 hard courses, physics, and I'm taking like mechanical physics, and I'm taking calculus 3, and I'm taking chemistry, so it's like it's definitely a lot, but like I said, as a class we all struggle together, so I feel like that's definitely a big connection that we all have, and like a lot of us are like, okay, let's go to tutoring together, like let's go, and like me and my classmate, like we're best friends, and it's like we help each other out, sometimes we're on the phone, until 3 a.m. studying, but it's like, hey, like that, if it works, it works, we pass, as long as we pass. So I feel like that's definitely a great memory. And I feel like another good memory is like because I am in the math club at BBC, so I feel like since we did end up going, with the STEM club to Google campus, that was also a lot of fun. We got to meet a lot of people, we got to talk to the director of Google, we got to have like a whole presentation to ourselves, and things like that, and it was honestly really cool, so I can't wait to see, like what other field trips there are, so I feel like that's definitely something that really sat well with me in college, like you're able to choose whether you join a club, whether you go to the field trips, whether you go to class, so it's definitely like a learning experience for all. But I feel like that's definitely one of my favorite experiences, like growing and learning connections, and growing from my mistakes as well, because it's like, hey, if I failed, like I've never failed an exam, but like, let's say that I did, it's like, I know that I could run to my professor and like, let them know, like communicate with them, and I feel like communication is key, especially in college, so I feel like as long as you communicate with the professors, that's all that matters, so I feel like that's definitely a lot of things that I've learned from college, but a lot of my favorite memories do come from like the hard courses, the hard like nature related courses.
Let's see, any advice that you would give a high school student that was like planning for college?
Honestly, one big piece of advice that I would want to offer is it doesn't matter what college you go to, it doesn't matter what school you go to, it's like, I know that that's the new norm, that like, oh, let me follow my friends, it's like you're gonna make new friends, and if those are truly your friends, you guys will stay connected, and it's like, I feel like that's definitely a big thing that I've learned, and especially, because unfortunately BBC is so talked down upon, I feel like it definitely made me feel a certain type of way. But like I said, especially in high school, I learned how to advocate for myself, and honestly, like, who cares what other people think about you? It's like, who cares? It's honestly just a battle of yourself, it's me versus me, so it's like, I feel like a lot of students don't understand, that it's okay if you go to a community college. It's okay that you go to UC Riverside. It's okay that you go to Cal Poly Pomona. It's okay that your friend goes to UC Santa Barbara and you can't. It's okay that you didn't get accepted. Rejection is redirection, and that's always been a motto of mine. And I feel like that's honestly really important. Especially as a senior in high school. I know it's tough. I definitely know that it's tough, because you're doing applications, you're doing your tests, you're doing this, you're doing that, and it's definitely a lot. And you got to make sure that you graduate on time, your graduation requirements and things like that, But as a senior, I looked up and I said, hey, it's fine. Everything's gonna be okay. Just calm down, especially and even then for those freshmen, that are barely coming in, being a freshman is hard. It definitely is, I definitely feel that, and I got that vibe myself, but it's like, hey, it's okay, and you need to slow down. And honestly, I know a lot of people say this, but either 3 or 4 years does go by in a really fast time, and it's like, although you may not feel it, it's like, it will, trust me. And like, I miss the high school days. Yes, I do. But at the same time, I'm just like, hey, I have bigger and better things and opportunities that are waiting for me, in the future, whether it's in college, whether it's job wise, whether it's, at the university level, it's like many opportunities are going to come your way, so I feel like that's definitely a piece of advice that I give to all high schoolers. It's like, just calm down, everything's going to be okay, and honestly, focus on yourself. I feel like that's definitely something, especially in high school, you really gotta focus on your mental health, and things like that, because it is tough and it is hard. And I do agree, and I do feel like there's a lot of students that need to hear that you matter, and that regardless of what anybody thinks, learn your own moral values, and it's like, never lose that dignity and perseverance that each one of us have.
Yeah, I agree with you. So, at your time at HUSD, which is Hesperia High School, how does it shape you and the person you are today?
Honestly, like I said, just advocating for myself, and making those connections were really two of my main big points. Through my time in the Hesperia Unified School District, especially at Hesperia High, but like even then, within the Hesperia Unified School District, like I said, not just the connections within high school, but as well as, like, go to your elementary school teachers, go visit them, like, I know it's tough, but it's something that, like, as an educator, like, you see and you say, like, wow, like, they really do remember me. They really do care about me. I really did make an impact on their lives, and especially like for me as in the education field myself, I see my students, striving, like the 8th graders that went up to high school, I see them, and I'm like, wow, like, you guys are doing great and you guys are doing amazing, and it's like, I'm glad to see that they're going, they're still going and they're still motivated, so I feel like, go explore, venture out, talk to new teachers, like I said, Mr. Lynch was never my teacher, but it's like, he was my coach, and like I always saw him, as a great, person to go talk to, whenever I needed something. Like I said, again, with Miss Scarce and Mr. Gonzalez, and Miss Gazarian, it was definitely, like, I have these connections, might as well, like, talk to them, and I have these people that I can talk to and have a shoulder to lean on whenever, because I know that they care deeply about their students, so it's like, I feel like that was definitely something. And again, I say, elementary school teachers, they care, middle school teachers, they care, so it's like, go visit them, go talk to them, especially because you never know what can happen, and it's always just a blessing to have these beautiful people around you, and I feel like that was definitely something that really did shape me throughout my time at Hesperia Unified School District, and like I said, until now, like, I work with my coworkers and I work with my supervisors and my boss, and things like that, and like, we all collaborate, and we all talk to each other and speak to each other and communicate, and communicate, whether things are going well, whether things are not going well, what we should change up, so I feel like that's definitely, something that can definitely help throughout your time, and it's like learning communication skills and things like that, it's like, that's definitely something that you learn, it's not taught to you, you learn it yourself, so I feel like that's definitely something that really helped shape me, especially now in the professional environment, and like I said, in college, even in my academics, it's like, my professors sometimes, like, they don't understand the question that I'm asking, so I need to reword it, or I have to stay back, and speak to them, and even then, joining office hours, it's like, you get to know them, you get to talk to them, professors are really chill, they have a lot of things to say, and they're only human too, and I feel like that's a big thing, we're only human, we all make mistakes, and I feel like it's a learning experience, but that's life is a learning experience as a whole.
Yeah. If you could give one piece of advice to a student, like a student that comes in, like, let's say if somebody came in and it was a random student, what kind of advice would you give them?
I feel like one piece of advice that I would give is just stay determined. Don't let anybody change the way that you are, and honestly speak up for yourself. Like I said, advocate for yourself, and know what you want in life, have that drive, have that passion, because I feel like that's what a lot of people or a lot of students, need help in, need to be pushed, in that aspect, so I feel like what I would give a student right now is like, hey, speak up for yourself, don't change for anybody, like don't let yourself, get into bad habits. I know like procrastination is a big one, especially as a student, like I still kind of procrastinate myself. I'm working on that, but I feel like, hey, like change those bad habits, and also too, like the people around you as well, know who you want around you, especially because, it's like some students unfortunately don't have that motivation and don't have that drive, and they turn and look to other things, to motivate them, so I feel like it's definitely, a battle, but I definitely do feel, that don't let yourself, change for others, be yourself, stay who you are, stay true to who you are, stay true to your morals, stay true to your values, and don't let anybody discourage you. I feel like that's my biggest thing, because that's what I did go through high school, and I would hate for somebody else to go through that. It's like, so don't let anybody discourage you. Like I said, whether it's a staff member, it's counselors, whether it's, your like adults, regular adults, whether it's your classmates, don't let anybody dim your light. You are the light of your own life, and you have your own motivations, you have your own goals, so I feel like just push for that, push for that, and don't let anybody tell you no.